those out of the way. There's two there. Dad, come on. Just focus on just pulling one out. All right.
I didn't want.
This is just, the wheels are coming off now. Why is this one so big? All right.
All right, you ready?
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. So we're doing a little bit of a different video today. For anybody that doesn't know me, I'm Peter Tragos. I'm a personal injury lawyer here in the Tampa Bay area. I've been practicing law for just under 8 years. And with me to answer some of these questions is my dad, our consigliere, the criminal defense lawyer of the firm who's been practicing for 40 years. So
46.
A bit, I wasn't going to age you quite like that. But, so a bit of an age gap and a difference in practice. Now, we cross over on our practices, of course, but I primarily practice personal injury. Primarily, he practices criminal defense and was a prosecutor in his former life. So we are going to answer questions today. We're going to give our perspectives based on the type of law we focus on, how long we've been practicing, and the way that we practice, because although I've practiced my entire career for him and with him, we do things a little bit differently. So I'm going to pull the first question and say, what is one thing you wish you could have told your younger self?
Are we talking about younger? You think maybe it's law school?
Qualify every question. You're literally going to have to
like when I was 6 years old. I wish I would have not been so stressed in law school, and I enjoyed law school. I would have told myself, enjoy law school more. It's an experience that you're going to have only once in your life. And boy, I just took it as a stressful experience, and I just sweated all the way through it.
So one thing I would have told myself is just focus on going to law school, not starting out trying to go to medical school, doing all science my first year, but just kind of focus on going to law school and take that track and start at an earlier age planning that. And then number two, I would have told my younger self, definitely don't start out at the state attorney's office, which was something you advised me to do that I didn't end up doing, and I'm very happy I didn't. I would have told my younger self that's a good decision, so just bypass that track.
Although if you hadn't have started out in medical, going to medical school,
I didn't start out medical school, on the pre-med track.
Pre-med track, you wouldn't have known how much you really enjoyed law school.
Maybe true. Maybe true.
Which is harder, criminal or PI?
Well, harder. So we have to first define what harder means. Harder to make money, definitely criminal. Harder to kind of build out a practice and doing diverse things, definitely criminal. So if we want to talk about the actual work grind that you do during a case, I do think criminal can be harder in some aspects because you have to learn all sorts of different businesses and different ways to handle different statutes, and you're always dealing with a different statute and a different crime, whether it's a DUI or financial fraud, federal court, state court. And personal injury, for the most part, car accidents and slip and falls have a similar track, right? You're just proving liability, meaning who's at fault. You're proving what injuries occurred, and then you're using the medical records and the medical bills to prove those damages. So it's kind of a more similar track every case. So by that it might be easier, but I think civil trials are way harder than criminal trials.
Well, I don't think so. I think criminal trials are also harder. And the reason I'm saying that is because of what's at stake. Someone going to prison, someone maybe getting the death penalty if you're trying a murder case. That makes it a lot harder and a lot more stressful. Plus, you're trying it against not just another lawyer that has equal abilities, but you're trying it against the government or the state that has all these police officers. If it's a federal case, it's the FBI, and who's your opposition. So I think that requires a lot more preparation. I think criminal is harder.
No, it definitely doesn't require a lot more preparation. You're going against big government, fine. We're going against big insurance companies, so it's still big, deep pockets. But as far as what's at stake, I agree with you. I once had a PI attorney in town tell me that we can stand up there and ask for millions of dollars, and while our heart is pounding, waiting for the verdict, there's nothing like standing next to a man that might end up in prison for the rest of his life. So I do think there's a big difference in what the stakes are, but I think personal injury trials can take a lot more preparation, and just civil trials generally, there are some different rules that I think make them more difficult to prep for, but we can just agree to disagree there. All right, next question. This is one we've actually talked about before. So we haven't seen these questions beforehand, but this is one we talked about before. So if you couldn't be a lawyer, what would you be?
That's easy. I would be the manager of a large luxury hotel. I've always dreamed of running a Ritz-Carlton or a Four Seasons hotel. with all the wonderful restaurants and taking care of all the people coming in and making everybody happy. I would love to run a luxury hotel.
And I would be in high-end real estate. Like the show, $1 million listing, LA, $1 million listing, New York, that would be me. I would do that type of stuff and be a shiesty realtor.
And just for a comment, my minor was in hotel and restaurant management at Florida State.
Congratulations.
So,
You're up.
one. Okay.
No,
Okay, there is a question. Who has better clients? I presume that means criminal clients or personal injury clients.
Yes. Okay, so better clients, I would not say that there are better clients for either area of law that we practice. I don't think it's a bright line rule where all of the criminal clients or all the PI clients are better. Some clients are awesome, some are really difficult to deal with. One thing that is interesting is a lot of people think that a lot of the criminal clients are poor, low socioeconomic clients that come in and they're the harder ones to deal with than personal injury clients, and that's not true. I would say that a lot of the criminal clients are higher socioeconomic status than the personal injury clients, but I mean, it's a wide range, and I would say it's ranging on both sides where there are great clients and really hard clients in both areas of law.
I think that's true. And I think that there are difficult clients and non-difficult clients regardless of whether it's a personal injury case or a criminal
And
case.
that probably goes to all areas, like
Right.
whether it's family law, probate, whatever, you probably have, because just as you look out and people you know, there are difficult people that you're friends with and there are easy people that you're friends with.
But keep in mind on the criminal cases, the one differentiating factor is on criminal cases, they're actually paying you. They gave you money in order to work their case, unlike a personal injury case where it's a percentage of the recovery.
Right, it's contingent and we get paid at the end.
Right. So I think that makes a difference when they're paying you.
What do you prefer, live or Zoom court?
I prefer Zoom court for the non-consequential items. For instance, hearings where nothing really exciting is going to happen, the hearings where you don't have a lot of witnesses, hearings that are repetitive and you just the lawyers and not witnesses, those kinds of hearings I prefer the Zoom because it saves you time. You don't have to leave your office, you don't have to drive to the courthouse, park, go through security, and go see the judge. But on cases where you actually have live witnesses, people you're going to question, where their demeanor and how they answer the questions are going to matter, then I do think it needs to be live, and I'm opposed to Zoom for those hearings.
Yeah, I really like Zoom hearings. I really like Zoom court generally. I like to just take care of stuff. It goes so much faster. You're able to get so much done in a much less period of time. But yeah, anytime you need witnesses, anytime you're going to present something to a jury, you'd much rather be in person. You want to look in the people's eyes. You want to see facial expressions. You want to kind of play off of that. It's like live sports versus sports on camera. So, I mean, doing things live is definitely a benefit, and I hope it comes back soon.
All right. Okay. If you were on the opposing side in the court, who would win? PI or criminal?
So like us versus each other, I think.
You and me versus each other?
Yeah, so this one is easy.
We're talking about in court now.
Yeah, so this one is easy. What should we start with? Well, let's start with PI versus PI. If it was personal injury versus personal injury, I would win hands down. It would be a huge verdict, more money than the defendant probably has to pay. But I will say, criminal would be no match. He would wipe the floor with me in a criminal case. No doubt about that. He thinks he could win in any area of law.
A trial is a trial. And when I go to trial, I go to win. I don't care if it's PI or criminal. And I'm comfortable in the courtroom. I love the courtroom more than any other way I practice law. And I don't think there's any case that I can't win.
Yeah, well, of course, not any case that you think you can't win. But there's plenty of cases you haven't won. And 99.9% of PI cases settle without a trial. So you're saying I'd win 99.9% of them, and you might have a chance 0.01% of the time. I'd agree with that. He has a chance less than 1% of the time it goes to trial. All right, we'll give you that. Was that mine or yours?
That was me. I read that.
All right. What are your goals for the future? You might not have much left, so these short-term goals for you.
The short-term goal is I want to continue to practice. I enjoy it. As you know, I still come in to the office just about every day, and I enjoy working. I enjoy practicing law, but I'm sure that I want to enjoy a little more free time. I probably want to golf a little more so I can get a little better at golf. Probably want to take more vacations, travel a little bit more. but I still see me.
So what are your goals? Your goals are just to keep practicing? That's the goal?
My goal is to keep practicing,
All right,
as long as I can physically and mentally do it, yeah.
That's a high goal. Yeah, I tell people when they ask me how long I think you're going to practice or if you're ever going to retire, things like that, and I say it's what he's good at, it's what he likes to do, and if he wasn't doing this, he'd be golfing, and I wouldn't want to put that on him to make him go golf every day, so because of how he golfs. So I think it's good that you want to keep practicing.
I practice law better than I golf.
And we love having him, and we want him to be here forever. He's an awesome backbone of the firm to have for us to bounce ideas off of because his experience is invaluable. So my goal would be to continue to grow our firm like we're growing it. That's why we're doing videos like this. That's why we do a lot of internet advertising to reach more people, to make people understand what their rights are and understand how to deal with the processes in life that deal with the laws and the legal world. And we're here to try to make that easier to understand and be here as a resource to answer questions and represent clients. So we want to represent more clients in personal injury and criminal defense, and we want to just continue to grow and year over year continue our growth. So that's my goal.
Okay. Who works longer days, criminal or PI?
So, I mean, this is hard because this totally depends on the lawyer. So the lawyer individually, no matter what area of law, some people have to work longer days, some people don't. I feel like I can get a lot done in less time. So out of the two of us, he definitely worked longer days when he was 33 versus the days that I work and the amount that I work. I do a lot more networking. I do a lot more things out of office than he does. I do a lot more work from home remotely than he does. And he did no marketing and advertising. We do a lot of it. He did no networking with other people really, but I do a lot of that with doctors and lawyers and stuff in the PI world. So I feel like who grinds harder is probably he did than how I do when I'm 33, but I don't know if it's necessarily criminal versus PI versus just the difference in our work styles.
I think it is work styles for sure, but the work styles are generated by the fact that the practice of law has changed. And I'm grinder. I probably work more hours in the office, but I don't go out and do all the marketing that he does. He's right. I don't go shake all the hands that he does. That's just not the way it used to be. But now with social media and getting around, it's the way it has to be. So by grind, if you're talking about in the office, it's me. By grind, if you're talking about total hours, he probably puts in more total hours.
Yeah, and I think like if you look at other firms, there are some civil defense firms where some associates are just ground to the bone and they're working 80 hours a week, billing and just in misery, bleeding. Their eyes are bleeding from reading so many depositions. And then if you look at a state attorney or a public defender, they don't work the same. They don't work 100 hours a week. You know, a lot, especially state attorneys, they're working 40 hours a week and that's it. A lot of them don't work any more than that. Some of them do. But it really depends, I think, on who you are, what firm you work for, and how you actually get work accomplished. I think just about any lawyer could get things done in 50 hours a week. And just about any lawyer could get things done in 100 hours a week, depending on how they work, right?
But I don't know any successful lawyer that just works 40 hours a week.
Sure. All right. What is it like working with your son?
That's a good question. It is really enjoyable. It's probably the reason I'm still here and still enjoying practicing law. Because honestly, you know, what joy would I have had practicing law all by myself now when I'm really...
Well, you still have Pete.
Well, I know I still have Pete, but having my son really makes a difference in the way I practice law. Plus, he has changed things so much in the office. We're in a new office space, and it's modern. My space was old-fashioned, the big stuffy chairs and all that stuff. But now we have a modern office. We have modern technology in the office, and we're doing stuff like this, stuff I never would have done. So I'm enjoying learning the new stuff and how things have changed.
And answering what it's like to work with your dad, which was the other part of the question for me, is it's a lot of fun. It's different than I thought it would be. So he and I butt heads a lot more. Pete's a good balance for us in between us. So we are both very type A, strong-willed, kind of control freak type of guy. So it's been interesting to work together, and we've had bumps in the road, but it's always been fun. And it's working with your dad is something that is kind of unexplainable because you have a trust that you don't have to worry about. You have a confidence, you have a security, especially when you're with somebody like my dad who is, I say a criminal defense giant, a giant trial lawyer. He wins all the awards. He's, you know, founding members of all these groups and all this stuff. and his, his bust of his head will be on, I'm sure, lots of trophies handed out, and the name George Tragos Award will be given at certain things when he dies, I'm sure. But anyway, so to have such a great lawyer like that I can learn from and see and bounce ideas off of and just have as a safety net has been really nice and something that's invaluable that I'll never forget. And I'm so glad that we're able to work together for this long and still long, more than 10 years together probably, which is awesome. It's something I wasn't sure if we'd be able to have, which has been awesome.
Earlier in the video, he talked about not going to the state attorney's office, even though I recommended it. Now I know it was the right decision because it gave us, because you go to the state, you've got to work there at least 3 years. This gave us 3 extra years together, and I'm grateful for that.
Oh, it's you.
Okay. What type of case is more expensive, criminal or PI?
So that totally depends on the case, right? And that's been our answer to so many things. But a lot of personal injury cases, cost-wise, can be very cheap because 50% of them settle without ever even going to court, and on those cases, you don't even spend $1,000 in costs. There is no criminal case that you're not spending $10, $20, $30, $40, $50, $100,000 in attorney's fees and costs. So I would say generally criminal cases are more expensive. However, if you have a big traumatic brain injury or drowning case, that's a personal injury case, you can have 6 figures up to $100,000 or more in costs that you're carrying for the experts that you have to hire, medical experts, liability experts, for depositions, for hearings, for mediations. Those are all costs that rack up and dwarf any criminal case and can cost more than any criminal case as far as a cost portion goes. But generally, I would say the general run-of-the-mill criminal case is pretty expensive on the client versus a PI case.
But if you want to talk about expensive in the terms of risk to the firm, the PI cases are the most expensive cases because the firm always advances that money and it comes out of the firm's pocket until the end of the case. Whereas on criminal cases, that money is paid usually by the client as you're spending the money. So the firm takes greater risks on the expenses with regards to the personal injury
PI
cases.
case is way more expensive for us, but for the client, criminal cases are more expensive throughout the process. All right. If you had to be another type of lawyer, what would you be?
Tax lawyer. When I graduated from law school, I'm a criminal lawyer because it was the best job offer. When I graduated from law school, the state attorney's office was a great job offer, and I got an offer from the state, that's the state prosecutor's office.
How much were you making?
Before I passed the bar, it was $7,500
a year.
A year. When I passed the bar, I went up to $15,000 a year.
Wow.
When I left the office, by the way, I was the highest paid group of assistants, and we were making $25,000 a year.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of money. But anyway, it was the best offer. But what I really enjoyed in law school was tax because I liked the minutia. I liked finding all the tricks that you can use against the government in order to save your client tax. I really enjoyed the tax code and studying it. But that's probably good for being a criminal lawyer. But that was the best offer I got, and then it just started me on the path of a criminal lawyer.
So if I could be another lawyer, just picking what I'd like to be, I would be a sport agent type of lawyer. I would represent entertainment clients and athletes and handle all of their deals, endorsement deals, negotiating their contracts. That would be most fun.
And what was your undergraduate major?
It was sport management, so it kind of was hand in hand with that, even though I pretty much don't use it at all now. Was that me or you? That was me.
Who has more benefits from their job, criminal or PI?
Definitely personal injury, I think. I think the benefits of being a personal injury lawyer where you have, so one of the other differences between criminal and PI is criminal cases you get paid in the beginning and then you work for your money and grind it out. Personal injury, you work the whole case for the value of your case and you get paid when the case ends, whether it's a jury verdict, a settlement, whatever it may be. And it's kind of like a celebration when the case ends. Everybody's usually happy. The client walks away with their money and getting all their medical bills paid and all their damages paid. Criminal cases, some end happy, some don't, obviously. So that's one of the major benefits to a personal injury lawyer, I feel like, is a lot of happy clients. You feel like you've done something really good for them. You've helped them out in a time of need. We meet a lot of cool people. There's a ton of awesome networking events. You get to meet doctors and lawyers that really provide great services to the clients. And I feel like those are all benefits. And we joke about there are seminars and the legal education things that we go to, and the personal injury ones, in my opinion, are much better and bigger and more fun than the criminal ones. Because I've been to both. Growing up, I went to all the criminal ones as a kid. and we still go now.
Criminal lawyers have more fun, because we're talking about fun, because we're not so stuffy. But the criminal
I'm not sure
practice, the benefits, really the benefits with regards to criminal are the fact that if you believe in it, which I do,
this
being
isn't
a
supposed to
criminal
be.
lawyer,
This isn't supposed to be a why are there more benefits to a criminal lawyer. The question is which has more benefits.
I think criminal lawyers.
Okay.
Because criminal lawyers truly believe in the Constitution. Criminal lawyers are defending the Constitution. They're looking for justice. They go to trial looking for justice, and we're fighting the government. And if it wasn't for criminal lawyers, the government would run roughshod all over us.
All right. Was law school harder 40 years ago than it was 10 years ago?
Absolutely. I remember when you went to law school, and they had these, the law school is going to prepare you early on, come in, learn how to study. We don't want you guys to flunk out. If you're having problems, call us, tell us. This is when you were in law school. When I was in law school, it was show up. If you flunk up, we don't care. That's it. We had guys commit suicide in my class because they were so stressed and there was no place to go for help. I'm not saying that's right, but I'm saying the pressure was really there and no one cared if you flunked out or you stayed. Just like if anybody saw that old movie, Paper Chase, that's just the way it was.
Well, yeah, I think law school, when you say harder, it depends on how you define that. I think law school was harder back then, yeah, because nobody knew what the heck they were doing, and it was just kind of a bunch of people trying their best and just hoping for the best without a lot of instruction and guidance. But it's definitely, and I think you'd agree with this now, it's definitely harder to get in now.
Yes.
The studies and the academics are definitely harder. It's definitely harder to exceed and get to the top of the class now than it used to be.
More competitive.
It's much more competitive. So as far as that goes, it's much harder now. But I do think it was scarier back then. That's what I would say. I would say it's scarier back then, but academically it's more challenging now. And it's definitely harder to stick out because how many lawyers were there when you graduated?
How many lawyers total in the state?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Well, there's 100,000 now. There weren't 100,000. How many members of the Clearwater Bar were there?
Oh.
I thought you knew these stats. We talked about this before. So there was like no lawyers back then. And now there's so many lawyers. So it's so competitive not to just get into law school and excel, but it's so much harder to get a job now than it was back then as well.
That's true. Proudest moment in career.
Oh, it's supposed to be me first. The proudest moment in my career. So the proudest moment in my career, I feel like, is when everything started coming together, and we had 3 settlements that happened at mediation or right after that were really big settlements. They all worked out on cases that because I've been practicing for about 8 years, and some of these cases take 4 or 5 years to really come to fruition, especially the bigger cases. So the proudest moment in my career is kind of a culmination. One of the mediations we did together, which was really fun. One I did with Pete, so it was kind of both lawyers I had been working with for so long, cases that I had brought in, cases that I had built up kind of as my baby, and we settled a bunch of them right in a row within like a 1-month period, and we were signing a bunch of cases, so it was just kind of felt like everything was finally coming together, and it was a slow burn up to there. It wasn't a money thing, or it wasn't a when I became partner or anything like that. It was really more of a proud moment because I felt like all the hard work was starting to pay off in the culmination of signing more cases, getting some big cases to the finish line, proving to myself that I could do it, that I could handle these cases, do it with my dad. That was the proudest moment for me. It was kind of a month-long stretch.
That's a really tough one for me because my proud moments are not guilty verdicts. And I'm just so proud
What about
and so
guilty
happy
verdicts
of those.
too? Your old guilty verdicts.
Guilty verdicts, you mean when I was a prosecutor?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, when I was a prosecutor.
What was your proudest moment?
Guilty.
If you had to pick one case, what would it be? Because you've had a lot. Mine are nondescript. Like one of mine was a car accident case. One of mine was a slip and fall case. I mean, those are not as exciting, but you've had some crazy cases.
There are some
over the years.
huge cases where I was in trial for 3 and 4 months.
So what kind of case? And what was your proudest moment, if you can remember, like a conviction or a not guilty?
It was a not guilty verdict where I represented the managing partner of a publicly traded stock brokerage firm who was charged with money laundering out of Panama, and he had been tricked by the government. Had gone down there undercover and laundered millions of dollars of allegedly drug money through the stock brokerage accounts. And we tried the case here. The way they got him here is they flew him. They said there was a wedding. They invited all the defendants from Panama to the United States for a wedding. They came here for the wedding, and the DEA arrested them all here. and they were tried here. His bail, and he was out on bail. His bail was $1 million. Remember that? And he posted $1 million bail. He was out on bail. Went to trial for 4 months. It was a not guilty verdict.
4 months.
4 months, and it was a not guilty verdict. And I was really proud of that.
I would be too. I like trying cases, but 4 months.
Yeah.
All right. What is it like to be a personal injury lawyer or a criminal lawyer? So we've kind of answered this as we've gone throughout, but give just an idea of what is it like to be a criminal defense lawyer in today's age?
In today's age, and we're ignoring the pandemic because obviously that's an aberration. But in today's age, a criminal lawyer, it's pretty tough to be a criminal lawyer because people, I think, don't have the disposable income they did. I think the economy has been very tough on people, so they've had to use the public defender more. And right now, 95% of everybody arrested goes to the public defender. So that means the private criminal bar is really out there fighting for the 5% that hire private lawyers. So it makes it a lot tougher. In general, I'm talking about.
So in personal injury, it's never been more competitive, and there are TV lawyers, billboard lawyers, commercial lawyers, some of whom give personal injury lawyers a bad name, and there's a stigma kind of we have to get over as being ambulance chasers and slimy snake oil salesmen. So I think it's hard because a lot of people hate lawyers and look down on lawyers, especially personal injury lawyers and criminal defense lawyers. So I think there's an issue with that. There's an issue with how competitive it is and people willing to do kind of shady stuff or illegal stuff to try to get clients, pay for clients, buy clients. So it's hard to navigate all that, to stay above water, to keep doing things ethically and morally, which is always what we try to do. And we try to do the best job for our clients. And it's really sad because a lot of clients, I feel like, get tricked into going to certain law firms that are not the right law firms for them and not who you'd actually want to hire if you realized everybody was the same price and you can hire any lawyer you want for personal injury. So that's kind of the frustrating part, is getting the message out that there are better lawyers for you to get out there. But it's really fun. It's never been more fun to fight insurance companies because they're getting worse and worse and shadier. So it's fun to go up against them. It's fun to fight David versus Goliath type fights and to even the playing field for clients that don't know how to navigate these waters versus insurance adjusters and lawyers who do it every day.
I would agree. Oh, we have another question?
Yeah. Did I read that one, or did you hear you read the last one?
Okay. What type of cases take longer, criminal or PI?
So you could probably answer this one better than me, but PI cases, you can have a quick PI case that finishes in 6 months, but we have a case that's been in our system for 6 years. So really, I think PI cases have a longer range on them because criminal defendants have certain rights to a speedy trial, which he can talk about. But I think PI cases are on both ends of the spectrum and criminal somewhere in the middle. So I think PI cases can settle really quick, especially if it's a small PI case. You treat for a couple months, you settle in a couple months. But then if it's a serious case, sometimes the defense attorneys can drag it out for 6 years, which we don't like, and we do everything we can to stop, but the courts are clogged and they try to do stuff like that. So I think PI is the shortest and longest on the spectrum, and criminal is somewhere in the middle.
I think, without a doubt, PI cases take longer.
Okay.
Because there are not the constitutional protections in PI cases. You don't have speedy trial rights. You don't have preference. A lot of people don't know this, but criminal cases take preference over civil cases when you're going to trial.
Like right now with the pandemic, with all of us waiting in line to try cases, they're going to try the criminal cases before they get to the civil cases.
Right. So when trials do open up, the civil cases are going to be behind the criminal cases. So the criminal cases definitely can be terminated, take less time than the personal injury cases.
Yeah, and I think that's true too. All right, so that's all the questions for this time, but we'll be back to answer more questions. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. If you like this content, like the video. I guess it helps with the algorithm, helps other people be able to see the video. Subscribe to our page if you want to see more videos like this, and thanks for listening.